Alrighty then, what's up y'all? Holy cow. We've got this cone here for Dante, my standard poodle, to have some shade. Okay, what's up y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. In The Image Clothing Company. This is our main side, one of our forwards, where what we do is allow the body to work. That's our slogan. Allowing the body to work. Why are we a clothing company? Clothing is the only thing physically placed on us, okay? The only thing physically placed on us has the highest opportunity to alter our bodies. Allowing the body to work, well, this is the thing. Everything we do in our lives, we're doing it in and through our clothing. And this is a used shirt, by the way. Summer Swim. So here's the thing. You know, I have nothing to do with Summer Swim 2025, personally. This video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, on the 24th of March 2026, is the Nuchal ligament. Alright? But specifically this, clothing's effect on the nuchal ligament. Listen to this, if you would. We've got a ligament, all right? And we've got a lot of ligaments in the body. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. And we allow it to work because clothing, like I said, the only thing physically placed on us, it has to stay centered, fit correct, and there's no opinion on what that means, to fit correct. There's a universal human design. And be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. Our bodies are only natural. We eat what we eat and we grow from that, only if it's natural, okay? We're literally the earth. The earth becomes the human being when we eat it. We've got unnatural, synthetic, and artificial things nowadays, things like this. Synonyms with fake, okay? Man-made things, but you can only make unnatural things from natural things, okay? Natural, undone, unnatural, okay? But natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the body of the human being and how it functions, within the body of the dogs too, on In The Image Clothing Company poodles, another one of our forwards, and I'll discuss it throughout here where I do. We let dogs stay natural, okay? Well, I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about that where I do in this video. Anyway, ligaments, all right? Bones connect to other bones through ligaments. The skeletal system of the body, the bones of the body, the bones are only the shape that they are. They're only the length that they are. They're just what they are. The body is just connected how it is. It's a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. The human being, there's only one way it works. There's no opinion to trying to train the human being to get it to do something. The bones connect to each other only how they do, and they're always just there. Okay, between the bones, with these ligaments connecting them, there's a thin layer of cartilage called cushioning. Wow, cushioning called cartilage, okay? So the bones don't wear each other out because the ends of the bones are just shaped the way that they are, and they have to mesh in line or else they just don't work very well at all. And they'll wear each other out, even though they're designed to be connected to each other. Designed in the image of God, there's the first three of our 5-word company name. In the image of Jesus Christ, we're designed. Here's your clothing company. Anything, glasses, jewelry even, not just hats and pants and tops and socks and shoes and undergarments and gloves, and whatever else you could say. But anything at all you place onto the body is something clothing the body. It's just literal wording. So, with our bodies only having one way they could ever work, truly, you know, just the shape and length of the bones and the shape and length of the muscles that connect to the bones through tendons, you know, we just have to have our clothing fitting us properly. So we've got things like this, oversized clothing that just doesn't fit in this way. Look at this is what I mean. No opinion to it. Well, there's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side titled Oversized Clothing is Not a Choice. Okay, what I mean is the body only works how it does. We've got joints of material meshing with joints of body parts. Like at the edge of the shoulder here, when we talk about where clothing sits very clearly, even through the wind noise, yikes. Blunt, bold, raw, and real In The Image Clothing Company. Surrounding sounds where there are in our videos outside like this, or inside, you know, but it just is what it is. You can hear the information. What I'm saying is we've got joints of shoulder bones, okay? The collarbone called the clavicle, the shoulder blade called the scapula, and the upper arm bone called the humerus. These are 3 bones coming together to meet and become the shoulder. And there we have joints of clothing material. Okay, meshing in the same spot. You could say seams of clothing meshing with what we could call seams of body parts. Okay, the bones, where they join. So this is what I'm saying. There's no opinion to it. You can never possibly train the human being to get it to do anything. It's just what it is. There's a neutral position. Earth has gravity that it pulls down on us with. Earth's center of gravity is this vertical pull, and then that's a perpendicular angle, a 90-degree right angle with its Earth's surface. So neutrals, it comes in this way. Everything in the body having a neutral, with it just being a mechanical machine. We stand up vertically in our neutral. This is the resting state. You can lean left from the neutral, and gravity's got more effect on your body than in the neutral. You can lean right from the neutral, but gravity's got more effect on your body anywhere that's not the neutral. We can stand up neutral, or we can lean forward from the neutral, and gravity's got more effect on our bodies there. You know, we can stand up straight vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, or we can lean backward from the neutral, you know. But there's just a neutral in the wrist and the ankles and the elbows height, which is the shoulder's height. Keeping elbows at the natural waist is a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Also just a focus in daily life. Okay. The bottom end of the upper arm bone called the humerus is the elbow. But the top end of the upper arm bone called the humerus is the shoulder. And so anywhere the elbow goes, the shoulder goes. Directly the same location by an immovable by itself bone, being one joint at the bottom end and another joint at the top end. The elbow and the shoulder, they're the same thing. The hand is the shoulder. When we lock it out at the elbow between the two, they'll do the exact same thing. So is the foot and the hip, okay? The foot is the hip. When we lock them out at the knee by straightening it, okay, the knee's between the foot and the hip. Now the hip and the foot do the same thing. Internal rotation and external rotation from their neutrals. And just all the functioning in the body. It only does what it does. Anyway, there's some context, so you know I don't have a claim on it. I don't have a claim on it. It doesn't matter what I say. Don't believe me. Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Any of our team members under In The Image Clothing Company, and even any of our poodles. I'll discuss what that could mean to you if I do in this video. Probably will if I get to it, okay? Because that's a huge point. But what I'm saying really is, you know, people try to train their bodies, but you can't. It's physically, mathematically, mechanically impossible, because you're not going to change the shape and length of the bones naturally, you know, or the muscles. And so here's a video. The human body only pulls under In The Image Clothing Company's main side here. We reference it often, even when we're pushing away from us. Well, we're not. We're just pulling muscles. On the back side of a hinge, muscles pull together to extend a hinge. Muscles pull on the inside of a hinge, if you will, to close the hinge. Pull to open, pull to close. There's only one way the body works. The muscles pull, they contract. The muscle fibers fire, they get closer together. Stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles could ever work. The only way the body works is if the muscles work to stabilize, support, and move the skeletal system of the human being, okay? Yeah, stretch goes the opposite direction. And tens of years ago from today's date, the 24th of March, 2026, stretch, man, the sun's like not quite on my face so fully, you know, and that's fine. I'm just addressing that I understand it for the sake of the visual of the video. Oh my goodness, a bug flew right into my face. Yeah, stretch came in clothing with unnatural materials, and so did tags in clothing, which are just labeling for these unnatural materials. You know, fake things got invented by human beings, and it's poison for the body. It seeps into the holes in our skin called pores. There's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side titled The Epidermis. The epidermis is the skin of the body. It's an organ surrounding the entirety of the human being. And we can't be poisoning it, and we're doing that if we are wearing unnatural materials. You know, they just didn't exist. They're man-made. Anything God made is natural. Anything man-made is unnatural. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. It's a universal law. You don't have to believe in anything for truth to be truth, because it always is. And I don't get to decide or change it. That's why you don't need to believe us, by the way. I didn't quite make that clear in this video when I said don't believe us in the Image Clothing Company. It's because truth is truth. We can just discuss things that are apart from all of us that never change. Another name for God is the truth, unchanging. The same yesterday, today, and forever. All right, us being designed in the image of God, the human being has been the same since everyone who has a body, or every body who has one. It's literal wording. Yeah, there's only one way this thing functions. And so, you know, yours can be slightly different, sure. Amputation, deformity, birth defect, major surgery, anything at all, though, that sets your body apart a little bit or quite a bit. You can only be set apart from something, and that's the universal human design. And so with this pull to gravity and a center line to our bodies that's just vertical, you know, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, the jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body, these things need to stay in the center, meshing with Earth's vertical center of gravity that pulls down on us because we're breathing and stabilizing through our entire body as we do it. Every breath we ever take, you know. And so the body's got to stay centered, you know, just weight-wise on Earth's gravity, if nothing else, you know, just with it being this mechanical machine that it is. So the nuchal ligament, let's talk about it, because what really happens, why our bodies don't work, yikes, in all truth, there's no opinion to this. It's impossible, it always has been and always will be, to train posture, for example. I say, you know, training the human being to get it to do anything at all is impossible. It's nothing to do with me, don't believe it. It's the truth. Watch this. I'm serious. The body has mathematical opposing bends, evenly back and forth from bottom to top, to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. This starts at the feet, flat on the Earth's surface, horizontal. All right, as if we're barefooted. The term zero drop in any brand of shoe, just meaning flat on the bottom of our shoes. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and the cervical spine, or the neck, which is what we could call the upper back, it bends forward. Now this cervical spine, or the neck, or yes, the upper third of the back, from basically our shoulders up to the base of our skull, is how you can see it. That's the cervical spine. It's just our neck. This is where the nuchal ligament is. Okay, the nuchal ligament. Nuchal. N-U-C-H-A-L. Nuchal. All right, there's your spelling quiz. What this is tissue connecting bones together. This is what it does, all right, the nuchal ligament. Well, this is the thing with clothing. Before we get into that, I'm not delaying. I'm giving context as we do so much under the gift of video, as I call it. As the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, I'll be doing this my entire lifetime, helping human beings with their bodies, because there's only one way it works. And we get into patterning, and I'll get into that, but what I'm saying is, you know, these videos are beautiful documentations that I can just reference people to, or our team members under In The Image Clothing Company can just reference people to get the information of what's really going on. There's no opinion to it. If we're not deciding it, you know, we don't get to choose it. But if we're aligning what we're discussing with the truth of God, it's just always the same. Check this out. We've got, like I was saying, oversized clothing. That's one of the things. Imbalances in clothing in any way. We've got rotated seams nowadays with robots stitching our clothing. Clothing will go down a conveyor belt. They'll stitch it in one direction. They'll flip the clothing around and they'll stitch it again on the other side. So maybe both sides are pinned forward, or both sides are pinned back of side seams of clothing. Maybe one side's going back and one side's going forward, and it's rotating our whole bodies when our bodies have their own rotations on Earth's vertical gravity pull, all right, with the center line and a neutral to the body. Like I'm saying, standing is the resting state. Just look at your arms hang down at your sides when your feet are flat on the ground. When your hips aren't altered, you know, traveling up from pant waistlines. Because that's the other thing, is ropes introduced to the body. That's what I discuss, you know. Shoot, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, that's the thing. Anything in clothing that's an imbalance, and there's a lot of things, collar seams, you know. We've got a collar around our top, around our neck, and it needs to stay centered. The importance of snug collars and keeping collars centered. 2 video titles under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, but also just focuses in daily life for human beings and for the dogs as well over on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, with letting dogs stay natural. You know, doing the same thing we do for human beings here, discussing standing, walking, sitting, breathing, eating, hydration, sleeping, everything we do. But we're doing all of this through our clothing. It's in our way if it's in our way. It's rotating our bodies, like I'm saying, with rotated seams, or it's just not sitting evenly on us if it's oversized. We live in a right-handed world, with 85%, give or take, of human beings being right-handed. There's a center line to the body. There's a video on In the Image Clothing Company's main site here titled, "You Can't Be Ambidextrous in Imbalanced Clothing." Ambidextrous means able to use both sides of the body evenly, and on Earth's vertical gravity pull with a center line to our body, we actually have to for our bodies to work properly. The only way they actually can. I'm not joking. It's no opinion, no approach, no sales pitch, no new information, no claim, nothing we could take credit for under In the Image Clothing Company. With how the body works in any way, it just is what it is. We didn't design it. It just grew for us. God orchestrates everything. The body beats its own heart. It breathes for us. It blinks at the eyes for us, okay? If the body gets cut, it heals itself. If the winds blow, you can sometimes hear it in the video because the microphone picks up the sound that comes, you know, when the air gets blown across the microphone. I understand. Good boy, Dante. Alright, anyway. Truth is truth, so don't believe me, but let's find what the truth really is and everything in life if we can. Yeah. And we do that to the best of what we can. On In the Image Clothing Company podcast, another one of our forwards, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but we're all human beings. We're the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It all was what it was before we got here. It'll be the same after we leave, really. So, episode 204 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is what we're on as of today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. We just have deep insights on life, all right? But here's the thing. The Nuchal ligament. Yeah, if we're tying ropes on our bodies, shoelaces, or drawstrings, you know, a rope around the waist to hold your pants on, or ropes around your shoes to hold your shoes on your feet. If you tie one side over the other in a rope, or anything at all, not even just what we think of as a rope, but anything at all, that you tie one side over the other around the body, on the body at all, you're twisting the entire body to the degree that you are, and, well, there you go, you know, a rotation. In this right-handed world, yeah, the vast majority of human beings, we're using our right side for more things than our left side. We've got videos here under In the Image Clothing Company titled things like this about the right side of the body. All right, let me reference a few videos under In the Image Clothing Company's main site about this right-handed world we live in. Okay, because you're right-handed, lifting the right side of the body. Internal rotation from the shoulder to the foot. The right foot and the hip. The top of the right fibula. All right, we've got a lot of videos discussing just the right side of the body specifically, because if we're off to the right side of our body more than the left, just because of the right-handed world, you know, products, if they're designed to be used with just one hand usage over two-hand usage, it's almost always going to be the right hand they design it for. Think of like a pair of scissors to cut things with, you know. They're almost always right-handed unless you specifically purchase left-handed scissors. It just is what it is. We live in a right-handed world, and our bodies get off to the right side. Clothing patterns, to a degree, are right-handed in the ways that they're just universally shipped across the entire earth nowadays in ways that could never have happened in the past before we had the technology to do that. And then you compound that with things like tying right-handed knots on your body and shoelaces, drawstrings, or anything like that, tied on or around the body, and then maybe stretch-in clothing that didn't even exist just tens of years ago from today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. And all of these things just compound on each other and our bodies get into a right-handed patterning. Okay, so the body will get more externally rotated on the right side, dropped lower, and farther away from the body's center line, just because that's how it works, okay? The collarbone or the clavicle, it pivots up and internal rotation, or it pivots down and external rotation, up and in or down and out. That's just how it works. Okay. So in this right-handed world, the right side of our bodies gets damaged. We get into patterning, as I'm saying, chronic patterning. Scar tissue builds up in the body, your bone spurs. We're getting to it, the nuchal ligament, but it's not gonna do all that much good for me to just tell you, yeah, your nuchal ligament might not be centered because of clothing. And then just, you know, all right, see ya. There's a lot of context that we give under In the Image Clothing Company. Well, so that we couldn't possibly have a claim, we do all we can to discuss things in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute it, because it's not our choices. Truth is truth. It's apart from all of us. This is just what's happening. But yeah, I mean, we need to lay a little bit of an understanding of how we're getting to this imbalance in our nuchal ligament, and it's fairly universal across the entire planet Earth. I mean, it is, and you'll see what I'm saying. It just is what it is, because there's a center line to our body, and that's where this nuchal ligament is. So what it is, let me tell you what it is. I'm not delaying it. I just know that some people, you know, they'll try to have some like sales, and they'll delay and delay and delay and make you sit through a whole explanation before they tell you what's going on. And maybe the explanation doesn't really have anything to do with what they're saying, like directly at least. No, we just give a lot of context as we're saying what we do, so that you can really have a fairly deep understanding of why we're even discussing what we are at all, and how it applies to you, because it does. There's a universal human design. That's how it does. But you don't know that if you don't know that. Do you see what I mean? So from the base of the skull of the human being, the head, all right, the back of it, the very back part of our head, down at the base of it, we have this protrusion. Okay, protrusion, the protractor. There's a little bump on the very base of the back of the rear of the skull, the back of the rear of the skull, the base of it. Yikes. All right, the occiput. There's a little, you know, poking out part, kind of like a little peak sticking out the back of the head. That's just the shape of the bone of the skull. You know, the skull is made up of multiple different plates of bone, kind of like the surface of our Earth's crust, you know, those tectonic plates. And at the base of the skull back there, at the occiput, right in the center of the head, in the rear, at the bottom of the skull here, okay, there's the top end of the nuchal ligament. It's also the top end of the cervical spine, or the spine of the neck, okay? Yeah. And so what the spine is it's made up of a lot of little bones called vertebrae, all right? They're stacking to allow all the motion in the spine. And so the top end of this nuchal ligament, this video's title, Clothing's Effect on the Nuchal Ligament, on In the Image Clothing Company's main site on the 24th of March, 2026. Yeah, it's right there at the base of the skull, okay? Top of the cervical spine. And this ligament connects to the base of the skull there, right in the center of the back of the body, the rear of the head, and the back of the cervical spine, the spine of the neck. And then it connects to the spine as well, because the spine's kind of more in the center of the neck, sort of, okay, front to back. And this ligament connects from the skull to the spine of the neck and down those vertebrae of the spine of the neck until we get to the top of the back before the neck starts, okay? So the bottom of the neck or the top of the back is the bottom end of that nuchal ligament, all right? Because there's three parts to the spine. We've got the lower spine, the lumbar, the mid spine, which is the thoracic, and then this upper spine, which is what we're talking about here, the spine of the neck. This is where that nuchal ligament is connecting to. The whole spine of the neck, right on the very back of it, okay? Because with these opposing bends the body has, there's no opinion to this. There's no opinion that could matter about this at all, is what I mean. The body has opposing bends. And as it does this, you know, back and forth, traveling up, like I was saying, just to stay vertical with Earth's gravity. Yeah. The neck is the thing that bends forward. You know, it's one of the things in the body. It bends forward. And so as the bend is curving forward, this nuchal ligament is connecting from the base of the skull down to the top of the thoracic spine, or the bottom of the cervical spine, the spine of the neck. So yeah, the whole span of the neck from top to bottom, okay? Bottom of the neck to top of the neck, which is the top of the thoracic spine, up to the bottom or base of the skull. This ligament is spanning that area. Okay, there you go. There's your understanding of where it is. And it's this connection right in the center of the back of the head, down the spine of the neck. And as we move our head, you know, like this, oh shoot. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled "Looking Down Opposes Bad Posture." And seen with context, as I say when I discuss that, it's the case. Looking down is in pivoting on our skull, at the base of the skull where it meets the top of the spine. This is what I've been saying as I've said this in past In the Image Clothing Company videos before today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. Because if we pivot at the base of the skull and the top of the spine like this, pivoting our head down, now we straighten our spine. And what we're also doing is elongating this nuchal ligament, okay? Because as it's connecting to the base of the skull and then the low part of that cervical spine, you know, it's spanning the whole neck back there. When we pivot our head down, it's taking the top end of the insertion of this nuchal ligament and pulling it up and away from the bottom end of the insertion of this nuchal ligament, okay? And so here's the thing, if you've got what you call bad posture, well, you don't. Not in the ways that people want to describe what bad posture means, and they try to give you exercises to get rid of it. No, there's only one way the body works. The thing is, God designed the human being to work. If we never altered the body, it would just work, just like the animals. You don't see animals doing stretching routines and workout routines. They just work. Animals don't wear clothing though, and so this is where it comes in on In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Seriously, you know, we let dogs stay natural, specializing in purebred standard poodles. Standard is the size and poodle is the breed. We give information that applies to all dogs because these dogs need to be let to stay natural. This is the thing, we've got domesticated dogs. We take them out of their natural wild environment. We bring them into our modern man-made world that we place onto God's natural earth. There's a lot of hidden dangers for the dogs, you know, things like cars, things like man-made poisons. We place things onto the dogs, the literal wording of clothing, right? Collars, leashes, harnesses, slip leads, bandanas, anything you place on a dog at all that's made by a human being. These things have to do the same thing our clothing has to do. Like I said earlier, keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. This is for both the dogs and the human beings, but even any animal across the entire earth that our information would apply to under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, with letting dogs stay natural. Things like pack mules and horses, you know, they've got halters placed on them, just ropes. And so, anyway, that's a lot of what we do on In the Image Clothing Company poodles. It's just keeping the dogs unaltered. But we do a lot more than that as well. What I'm saying though is, yeah, the color of our tops. You know, why are we a clothing company? How does it make sense to be a clothing company and not really even focus on clothing the way that other clothing companies would? Well, as I say, we're only a clothing company to get to the functionality of the human being, because it's the only thing physically placed on us. And so, I mean, really the fix would be to never wear clothing. That's what I'm saying, is animals don't have things placed on them. Their bodies can't possibly be restricted by something placed on them unless something's placed on them. But as human beings, we wear clothing, and we need to, because it's a protection for the environment, you know, from the environment and the elements, and it keeps us safe, it keeps us modest. There's a lot of beautiful reasons we wear clothing. You know, even shoes, our clothing, our feet, they're protection for the feet. But you know, the feet only work barefooted. A video I filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025, the shoes can be like a covering for the feet just without altering their function. So this is what I'm saying, we really do get into deep chronic patterning. There's no way you can possibly train posture. It's truly impossible. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled "The Human Body is Just Mechanics." And it is. The human body is just a mechanical machine, a machine of motion. It's got hinges, levers, and rotations, just operation in all the ways that it has it to just function and take us across the earth. Okay. Now, getting into patterning comes through the body trying to work around something physically placed on it for years, maybe, decades, maybe, just about an entire lifetime, maybe. And as it's trying to do all that it can to work around what's physically placed on it, well, it can't. There's something in the way. You know, if the joints of our material aren't meshing with the joints of our body parts when it comes to our clothing, if we're tying ropes around our body and we're just putting one side over the other and rotating our entire body from something around our waist, for example, like a drawstring, you know, to hold our pants up, we'll twist our entire body from the center of it up and down, out to the tips of the toes, up to the tip of the head, the tips of the fingers, the jaws in between there, stabilizing the entire body with musculature up to the crown of our head and down to some of these upper ribs and out to the edges of our shoulders. And the jaws going through the collar of our top with its musculature. We put so much focus on the jaw under In the Image Clothing Company. We have so many videos about the jaw under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here as of today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. But the point is, really, yeah, our bodies just get imbalanced. So the thing is, there's another video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled "The Neutral Head Position." You know, natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms, so we could title it the natural head position or the normal head position when it comes to the human body's functioning. These are synonyms, you know, because the head is just this ball of weight on top of the rest of our body. It's being stabilized by the jaw that's within the skull of the human being. It is part of the head, but also it's being stabilized by the feet, clear down at the other end of our head, you know, when we're standing vertically with our arms down at our sides. We've got the head at the top and the feet down at the bottom, but the feet are stabilizing the head. We can't really address the head unless we first talk about the feet. The body's a kinetic chain. It's all connected, right? Kinetic, connected. It's just all moving together. It's all connected as one thing. Anything in the body that's altered alters other things in the body. The body of the human being, and this is the case for the animals, any life form that this is the case for, right? Seen with context, you'd have to, you know, understand what's going on first to understand what's going on. Yikes. The human body, though, is one of the things, it can only work activated as a whole. Everything there's got to play its own role. Everything has a different function to play in the body. So if something's not playing its role properly, something else with a completely different function can't make up for the role of the thing that's not working because they just do different things. The body works all together or it really, really struggles to function. Okay? We've got our own individualistic situations, but that's why we've got to do all that we can do to get as close as we can to, wow, the universal human design. I mean it, okay? Getting out of patterning. That's really what we do here under In the Image Clothing Company. Really, with allowing the body to work, that's what it means is if you've gotten into patterning, in order for your body to work, you've got to rid the patterning. And in order for that to happen, you just can't continue to alter your body in imbalanced clothing. It's not a sales pitch. It's the only thing physically placed on us. It applies to everybody who has one or everyone who has a body. It'll be the same for every human being from the beginning until the end. God, designing us in his image, had to first look like us to do that. And he's unchanging, so here's the human being. You dig up people from thousands of years ago and their bodies are the same structure and shape. You know, it just is what it is. That's what I mean. There's no way to train it. So you're not going to train posture, but what you can do and what you need to do, and what I have done as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, in this for life to lead In the Image Clothing Company, as I say, is get out of chronic patterning. And so the nuchal ligament, it needs to be able to be working proper. Because here's the thing, with muscles only pulling, they only do it directly in line. And with bones only being the shape that they are, they only mesh directly in line, or they just don't. It's just that simple. It's a body we didn't design. It only does what it does, okay? So Yeah, that's how we've got videos like this under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. There is only one way the hands work, and there is only one way the feet work. A couple of videos I filmed back to back in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025. Well, look at my hand. It's the fingertips and the elbow. This is all the hand. In order for my fingertips to move, it has to stem at the elbow, and you can see this. See all the little muscles moving throughout my forearm? And the bones of the hand only contract in line. There's only one way they work. If they're not in their neutral, natural, and normal position, just straight out the forearm, right? The neutral wrist is straight out the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger. Ow, that kind of hurt, actually. But yeah, just like laying the outside of our arm down on something flat, it's just a neutral. So the hand only tracks in line. The muscles connecting to the bones through tendons only pull directly in line. The bones connecting to each other directly through ligaments, they only do it directly in line. Right? We're not in line like this, the wrist dropping down, and it just isn't going to work proper. The wrist coming up, and it just isn't going to work proper. Things just aren't in line the only way they can actually track and function. Okay? There's no opinion to it. There's no way to possibly train the human being. There's no breakthrough. It's always been the exact same. It's nothing to do with me. It's just the truth. And it always will be. So come back in 100 years and see if it's still valid information. And it will be. Under In the Image Clothing Company, as long as we don't try to, say something that's an opinion of ours. It's God's design of the human being. There's only one way it works. So that's why we can say it how we do. The only end is allowing God's design of the human being to work. Or letting God's design of the dogs stay natural. Okay, same thing, just worded differently. Now here's the thing with the nuchal ligament. As I'm talking about with the bones tracking together, or the only way they mesh, because they're just the only shape that they are, man, they're connected through ligaments. And that's what this is a ligament, this nuchal ligament, connecting the base of the skull, from there down, traveling through the whole neck to the bottom of the neck. I'll just say it like this, because I don't know how to really phrase this in a way that you can hear it easily if you don't really know the anatomy of the body very well. From the very top of the neck to the very bottom of the neck, this nuchal ligament tracks, or spans, is really what it is, right? That's where it's connected. So, some kind of little critter over here, it sounds like a lizard or something, maybe. I got humbled because there is a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Reshaping Bones, and here comes the wind. Yeah. Here's the thing. We can reshape bones only back to how they're supposed to be, all right? When we get bone spurs built up in the body, even through the wind noise, all right? Yikes. The body, like in an oversized top, okay, an imbalanced top, in an uncentered collar around the even opposing musculature from the center line of our neck, our jaws going through there, like I was saying, being connected to the edge of the shoulder through tendons and musculature. The jaw is the shoulder. Is a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. Watch this. See my jaw? Move the collar of my top with its musculature. So our collars have to stay centered. We've got free modifications we give under In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. It's one of our free modifications to just do what we can to keep the collar of our top centered. If there's anything in our collars that's discrepant or different, we could call it a collar seam, no matter what it looks like, just something different throughout the, collar. It needs to be evenly circumference and, circular around the neck of the human being, okay? What really is neck pain is a video I filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025, okay? I'll place it under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here. And really, before we understand what neck pain really is, we need to know what is the neck. I like to ask these questions, like what is whatever it could be that happens to us or that we have in or on our bodies, like what yawning really is. It's a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. why do we actually yawn? What does that do for us? You know, and I discussed it relatively thoroughly there, but it's just a mechanical thing. It's just opening our jaw, okay? But for this sake of this video, what I'm saying is, what neck pain really is, well, it's an imbalance of musculature. The jaw is the neck, the trachea and the esophagus are the neck, where the tubes we breathe through and eat and drink things through are in the neck. The spine is the neck. We've got a lot of muscles of the neck, the upper trapezius, the sternocleidomastoid, the scalenes, and all the little jaw muscles in the neck, and everything we could say that's musculature in the neck. And we've got the jaw, not only its musculature being the neck, but the jaw kind of just is the neck by itself. Even the jaw bone, this lower jaw bone called the mandible. What really is neck pain? Well, the nuchal ligament. All right, this video's title, and in the Image Clothing Company's main site on the 24th of March 2026, clothing's effect on the nuchal ligament. Okay, wow. Yeah, the nuchal ligament, it's in the center of the neck. You know, so if we don't address the center of the body, then the rest of it can't be centered either, because you kind of have to start from the center out, but you kind of have to start from the extremities in as well. The body's just all connected. But in the very center, we've got this nuchal ligament right on the rear of the neck, okay, the spine of the neck. That's a crazy looking spider. It looks kind of like a crab. All right. Things have insertions to other things. These things, in this case, are tendons. Tendons are muscles' way of inserting to bones, okay? We stabilize in the center of the neutral position of everything in the body, because there's even opposing muscles pulling on either side. There's opposing muscles, so don't stretch your body. You have to have even activation, which is muscles contracting on both sides of a function. And we stabilize in the center. Even just leaning left or leaning right, muscles pull us on the left side, left. Opposing muscles pulling us on the right side, right. And we stabilize in the center. Don't stretch your body. Don't believe me. That's why I say it. So that's why I say don't believe me, or in the Image Clothing Company, which I am the founder of, because it sounds opposing what people say. A lot of people are trying to tell you how to stretch your body. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side titled Full Range of Motion, okay? There's a full range to all the motion in the body, you know, and then the bones just hit into each other, and there's nowhere else you can go. There's just a full range to motion, and that's it. But only if the body's residing in its neutral positions, and that's it. And that's what would happen if we never altered the body. So that's why we get out of chronic patterning under In the Image Clothing Company here, okay? That's really what we do. Scar tissue and bone spurs, because we can get bone spurs where the tendons, which are the muscles insertion to the bone, pull on the bones, okay? And then the bones get changed in their shape, okay? Things like oversized tops. You know, our shoulders have a neutral height. It's the same as the elbow's neutral height. The elbows stay at the natural waist, because the natural waist is a place on the side of our bodies above the hip bones and below those lowest ribs, where there's no bone. No matter how you carry fat content, you have to get all the way to the center line of the body, to the spine, before there's even a bone there that the elbow joint could hit into. So if your shoulders are dropped on the low end of their neutral, they'll hit the hips, okay? There's a neutral position to everything in the body. There's no opinion to it, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. This is why we discuss things so thoroughly and why we have such long videos, in case you were wondering. Okay, there's only one way this happens. It's not my choice, so don't believe it. But truth is truth. We have to have our bodies work, okay? If we want our bodies to work. And we can do a lot within our own individualistic situations, even if your body's, you know, quite a bit different from the universal human design, in whatever way that could be. Because this is the thing. We have to keep our bodies centered, okay? You have to. So, breaking up bone spurs. This is what I was saying with reshaping bones. That video's title here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Yeah, you know, Well, there's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site titled "It Took Me 2 Years," spoken by me, Evan Strong. Saying your own name can be weird sometimes. Evan Strong is my name. It took me 2 years to get out of all the patterning I was in personally, because I was in deep, deep chronic patterning. Heels on shoes, shoelacing unevenly, shoe tying to the right side on both feet. Holy cow, okay? Drawstrings tied one side over the other in a right-handed knot for years, oversized clothing, rotated seams in clothing, collar seams in clothing, buttons, pockets, zippers, just imbalanced throughout the body. You know, I was just wearing oversized clothing for most of my life. Personally, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company is why I'm speaking on my own experience. You don't have to care, other than the context on this is valid information and I really know what I'm saying. So don't believe it, but truth is truth. Watch this. Our bodies have a neutral, okay? And so if we are spending a lot of our lives in a position that's more to one side of our bodies than the other because we're right-handed, okay, then our bodies build up patterning, okay? So as the muscles are pulling on the bones through their insertions, which is called a tendon, okay, the muscle connects to the bone through a tendon and it pulls on the bone. As this happens, if we're not pulling in line, but we're pulling on an angle, then things get altered, okay? That's just how it works. It's a mechanical machine. It's just what it is. The body of the human being, okay? So ligaments are the same thing in the sense that they connect things to other things. Ligaments connect bones to bones. And so bones, now you've got what we can just call an immovable stick. It's just what it is, a stick, until it connects to another stick, and then it can move where they connect, at the joint of the bones. All right, so in the spine, we've got those joints between each of the little bones of the spine stacking called vertebrae. Each of those bones is connected through ligaments. All right, and this nuchal ligament is connecting the base of the skull to the top of the thoracic spine, or we can say the bottom of the cervical spine, okay? The whole neck, the top of the neck at the base of the skull, and the bottom of the neck at the top of the mid-back, called the thoracic spine, this is being connected through this ligament, okay? Wow, yeah. It's being connected through a ligament, okay, bone to bone. Vertebrae of the spine, which are just bones of the spine, connecting to the skull at that occiput, which is just a bone. This is a ligament, all right? It's just like in between your fingers. You've got a bone connecting to a bone through a ligament and motion there. So this ligament of the nuchal, okay, the nuchal ligament is what it's called. Yeah, it's in the center of the rear of the head. And so much so that there's this little poking out part, this little protrusion, as I said earlier, and I liked the word. It sounds funny. Oh, shoot, I love this video. This is a little peak right at the very rear of the skull, okay? And so it's what it is because it's a bone. It's just there. It's an actual little, you know, kind of picture like a little mountain coming off the back of the head. That's the occiput, okay? That is where this nuchal ligament connects to at its top end. And then it comes down there's a truck engine braking over there, okay? Yeah, as it comes down, it's connecting to each of the little vertebrae of the spine. And the thing is, the spine has to stay in the center because that's the center line of our bodies. And we don't have an opinion or say on it that could matter. The Earth has a vertical gravity pull, and it meshes with the center line of our bodies. One of those things in the center line of the bodies is this spine. So as the nuchal ligament's connecting to each of these little vertebrae of the spine, each of the little bones in the neck, in the cervical spine, the spine of the neck, it needs to be connecting centered. But this is the thing, is if our bodies aren't centered and we're doing things more on one side of our bodies than the other, as we grow, and let's say even maybe this started after you were full grown, you know, but literally as you grow, you know, like from a little child to a full grown adult, if we're wearing imbalanced clothing, this is not a sales pitch. This is the truth. This is why this happens. This is the reason, not one of the reasons, one of the things. This is the reason. It's the only thing physically placed onto our bodies. Our bodies are just a physical thing. Clothing is literal wording. Anything at all placed onto the body is clothing the body with something. This is in the Image Clothing Company. This is how it's permanent, because it's truth. It's not our choices. It's God. Jesus Christ's design of the human being. Here you go. The nuchal ligament, it just connects in the center. It has to. The spine has to stay in the center because Earth's vertical gravity pole is centered. The spine's in the center line of the body. We've got ribs connecting into it. They wrap around the rib cage. Shoot. The rib cage wraps around the lungs. Okay, it's bone. And it connects into the center line in the front at the sternum bone. There's no opinion to this. It's truth. That's it. Not my choice. So don't believe me. But what I mean is not just what the nuchal ligament is and how it works. Here comes the wind and the airplane. There's only one way the body works. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I'm waiting for the airplane noise, all right? There's just no opinion to this that could matter. Dante's just sleeping in the shade. His shade moved a little bit, though, as the sun moved. And he hasn't moved. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. I was just tapping on it. I was going to say Dante's shade, but he got scared. It's okay. He probably just didn't expect it to make that sound. All right, good boy. Good. It's okay, good. Let's get back to this because there's less surrounding sound. There's just so many airplanes around here. There's a flight school just a few miles away from where I am standing right now. Okay, airplanes and helicopters. So, yeah, they learn how to fly, and they do it all day that they do it, you know? I mean, yeah. We'll get to it. It's just another date-marked documentation, like I say, under In the Image Clothing Company. It's just to show congruency to the degree that it is. It's our insurance policy. You know, it's just free information that we can reference you back to and you can learn from no matter who you are. My grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids, your body works just how mine does. We're all designed by someone who didn't. Oh, shoot. What I mean is we didn't design our bodies. Jesus Christ designed the body. There's no one's gonna ever have an opinion on it that could matter on how to get your body to work. It's impossible. You let it. You allow it to. That's it. That's just what it is. From birth to death, it just grows and it just functions. And sometimes it doesn't, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's no say we can have over it when we die, right? There's no say we can have over not dying. We just die when we die. We're not in charge of this thing. Life in general, and the human being is our life. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Only Thing That We Have. It's our bodies. Everything can come and go in our lives. It's coming to our bodies, essentially, or it's leaving and going away from our bodies. But once our bodies leave, we leave this physical life in this form, in this way. There's no opinion. It's only what it is, the human being. So don't believe me. Take me out of it, Evan Strong. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, though, and we really do know what we're talking about here. Where is he? Well, I'm just standing in the dirt. Let's get back to the nuchal ligament with the discussion because it's huge. This is what I'm saying. Why is it not centered if it's not? And is it not? And you know, maybe if you didn't even know what the nuchal ligament was before this video, you wouldn't even know what to address or what was going on in your own body. But that's, you know, like I said, because you're right-handed, if I referenced that video earlier, either way, that's a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. I was referencing right-handed videos earlier, but I know a lot about you, personally. No matter who you are, what part of the earth you're on, or what time period you're in, as I say when I discuss where clothing sits as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. Clothing sits here. And then I discussed how our clothing has to sit with Earth's gravity's pull on our bodies so it doesn't alter it. Okay, gravity's got the same effect on our clothing that it does on our bodies, and then clothing's physically placed on our bodies. That's what the word means. Clothing us is what it's doing. So what I'm saying is, I know a lot about everybody on the planet who's right-handed when it comes to the physical functioning of their bodies, just because they're right-handed, you know, or you personally if you're right-handed. And even left-handed people live in a right-handed world. And the point is, no matter what, just if you're not centered, your head is on top of your body, being supported by musculature, tendons, and ligaments. The nuchal ligament, it spans the whole spine of the neck, okay, the whole neck, the whole cervical spine. And if it's not in the center, then it's not going to be connecting to the bones centered. And then our head won't be centered on top of our whole bodies. And now on Earth's gravity's pull, with our head being the tallest point, with our arms hanging down at our sides, our bodies will be being pulled down with gravity, imbalanced, and that'll travel from our head down to our feet and their rotations, you know, from the feet up to the hips, through the whole leg, out to our fingertips and their rotations, from the fingers up to the shoulder and the whole arm, and through our spine, all the way down to our hips and our pelvis that our legs connect into. Everything will be twisted and torqued and not centered and balanced if our head's not sitting evenly on top of our bodies. Gravity is a huge thing. We put a lot of focus on gravity with our understandings and our discussions under In the Image Clothing Company. We've got a lot of videos discussing gravity, like these, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. Here's some videos about gravity. Your center of gravity, staying in your center line, keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. When we discuss eating and, you know, just everything else we do, standing, sitting, walking, sleeping, woo, there's a bug on my head. A lot of this is just gravity and its pull on our bodies, because our bodies, being this kinetic chain, they only connect how they do. And when I discuss the neutral is the resting state, the standing is actually the most restful state the human being could have. Literally, truly, mechanically, no opinion. It's where the bones are all stacking with the least effect on the body from gravity, because it's vertical. You know, I mean, even laying down, you've got more pull on your body from gravity, you know, spread out, and you've got more weight of air from our atmosphere down on your body. Standing truly is the most restful state the human being could have. That's the truth. Mathematically, mechanically, truly, physically, as in physics, you know, truly, yes, it is the most restful state. You're in the least amount of bend in the muscles, you know, in the range of motion of the joints of the bones of the body. So the muscles have to do the least amount of work when you're vertically stacked, standing, with these even mathematical opposing bends the body has from the feet up to the head when we stand, just to stay vertical. There's no opinion. It's truth. It's truth, you know. Time will tell. If you've got a problem with it, thinking I have some kind of claim, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, nah, it's truth. If it's not my choices, right? Check this out. It's God's design of the human being. The nuchal ligament. If we've got imbalanced collars, okay, the only thing placed around our neck and is pulling on our neck, now the spine's not straight because the musculature of the shoulder connecting it to the spine is not evenly neutral, okay? And it will be pulling on the spine because gravity's pulling on our clothing, and if our clothing's not sitting on our bodies centered, then yeah, like I'm saying, bone spurs, well, the same thing with ligaments. You know, ligaments will pull on the bones in a way that's just not in the center. This occiput, this little point at the rear of the base of the skull, it's kind of like a little peak, like a little mountain peak off the back of the head. It's small, you know, but you can feel it. That little pokey part at the very base of your skull, this nuchal ligament connects up into there. It's just right in the very center. So this is what the nuchal ligament's doing. If we're standing straight, and as I was saying earlier, looking down opposes bad posture, mechanically pivoting the skull down, it'll straighten the spine. We're extending or elongating that nuchal ligament as we pivot our head down and straighten the spine of the neck, okay? And as we do this, yeah, there's motion in that ligament, all right? Elongating. Now, if we look left and we do this, it's still happening, but the nuchal ligament is still connecting only to the very rear of all those vertebrae in the spine, all those little bones of the spine of the neck, the cervical spine, and it's also connecting to the very center of the rear of the skull. But now we're looking left, let's say. So our whole body's centered, except our head turns, and the cervical spine, all those little bones in the neck twist to allow us to look left. So does this nuchal ligament that's on the back of our neck, you know, stemming from the base of our skull and coming down to the very bottom of the neck or the top of the thoracic spine. So now this ligament kind of, you know, twists. And if we look right, this ligament, the nuchal ligament, kind of twists the other way. You know, we're turning our head to the right, and we're twisting our cervical spine, or the spine of the neck, to the right, like this. And then as we pivot our head down, this ligament is what's connecting the skull to the neck and the rear. Oh gosh, it's just so cool. It's just so real. It's so crazy. It's so real. It's just humbling as much as it is. It's ridiculous. It's also pretty hot out here. I'm in long pants too, and leather boots, which I'm not complaining, but this video is huge. This is permanent truth. I mean, this is what's happening. If this ligament is connecting directly in the center and the rear, and we're not in patterning where the insertion is kind of moved off a little bit to one side or the other, all right, and I'll discuss that as I do, if I do throughout this, but this is what I mean, is if it's in the center of the rear of the skull and the rear of all those little bones of the neck, the cervical spine, the spine of the neck, then we can just move evenly up and down, straight forward with the head, you know, just like straight out forward from the nose, if you will, in the front of our skull, the front of our face. But then we can also turn left and be starting from a neutral position, and so it's even left and right. But here comes the wind. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Being able to do this. Okay. What I do as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. It's amazing. Truly, it's amazing. It's permanent. These are permanent documentations. If we start with our... It's crazy. It's so real. If we start with our bodies imbalanced and we're off to the right side. Now, if we're like this for years, you know, for example, a long time, you know, I mean, even just months, even maybe weeks, you know, you can get into patterning in a relative short amount of time where the ligament actually will change how it inserts up to the skull. And it won't insert in the center of the rear of the skull anymore, because if we're off to the right side, almost always in our life, then as we're moving our head, we're almost always spending more time with our head off to the right side more than even neutral, and then especially more than off to the left side. You know, if we're right-handed and almost always using the right side of our bodies, as we're just moving our head and pivoting it around, that nuchal ligament is what's connecting all the bones back there, like I was discussing. The base of the skull, from the occiput down through all the vertebrae of the neck, the cervical spine, clear to the top of the thoracic spine, this whole area, it's all connected by this nuchal ligament. And if we're just almost always off to one side, the ligament will move where it inserts to the bones off to the side that we're on the most in life. It's got to be supporting the head. And so it'll hold on and adhere to the bone where it can support the body in the position the body is usually in. My goodness, that actually like caught my attention big time, that horn of the truck or whatever that was. But that's what I mean is, you've got shoelaces, let's say. You tie both shoes imbalanced maybe, like I did until I was about 24 years old. I'm 26 years old currently. Evan Strong, me personally, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, the one who I said I filmed the video about my own experience titled "It Took Me 2 Years." And the point is to get out of chronic patterning. You tie a rope around your ankle, and if you do both sides of your body the same direction, like to the right, you know, in a right-handed knot on both feet. Well, we've got feet that oppose the center line of our bodies at our foundation, and they grip arches inward, and that's how we stay vertical. We've got different length toes. All right, there's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site titled Different Length Toes. Wow. Yeah, different length toes. There's a lot going on in the feet. Pronation, supination, internal rotation, external rotation, dorsiflexion, and plantar flexion. There's a lot happening in the feet. You know, the ankle joint, the foot gripping arches, the height of a gripped arch with a tripod in the foot. You know, those feet arches meshing with the rounding in our hands, and if the rounding in our hands is altered, the rounding in our feet will be. If the rounding in our feet is altered, the rounding in our hands will be. We've got a lot of flat things in modern 2026 and going forth, you know, unnatural man-made things when our hands are round and we're holding flat things. We damage our bodies, you know. The open palm and internal rotation, a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. Internal rotation and the pinky finger. Yeah, a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. The body's just a mechanical machine, let's not forget. There's no opinion to it on how it works, and you can't get it to do anything. It's only what it is. The bones are only the shape and length that they are. And the nuchal ligament is connecting to those bones, that's what I'm saying. And if we're tying ropes on our bodies, you know, shoelaces, or drawstrings around the waist, and we're twisting the whole body, well now, the hips, you know, our pants sit at our natural waist. Above our hip bones, but below those lowest ribs, that's where the elbows sit. But that's where we bend, like I was saying earlier, side to side of the spine. That's where our pants sit. And then ideally just very, very slightly higher in the front than the rear, because our hips already bend backward or anterior with the rotation. So tucking them under us posterior is how we just get the most vertical on Earth's gravity. And since they already bend, you know, in the direction of the pants falling lower in the front, we want to keep the pants at least horizontal with the surface of the earth beneath our hips, the neutral, okay? Planet Earth's surface is the neutral for the hips from posterior rotation to anterior rotation, okay? But yeah, I mean, if we keep our pant waistline just very slightly higher in the front than in the rear, then, as mine is here, is what I'm showing, yeah, then we can keep the hips, you know, active. Okay, we're a clothing company. These are the reasons as to why. In The Image Clothing Company. But yeah, if you tie a knot around your waist, you know, which the point is, it doesn't matter what time period. People have always been tying things around their waist. You get plant material and you just weave it into a rope and you put it around your waist to hold your shawl on. Back thousands of years ago, before there was like modern pant designs. It's just what it is. Anything placed onto the body is clothing it with something. It's truth, right? That's it. Don't believe me, right? It is what it is. It's a rope, it's a knot, it's one side over the other. There's a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled Right-Handed Knots versus Left-Handed Knots. And essentially we need right-handed knots on our left side and left-handed knots on our right side, because there's a center line to the body, two sides opposing the center. All right. What I'm saying though really is, if we twist the hips, the spine's connecting down into the hips. And so traveling up through the whole spine, the neck will be altered, okay, the cervical spine, which is where that nuchal ligament's connecting, and also the cervical spine or the spine of the neck is what's supporting the head or the skull, which is the top end of where that nuchal ligament is connecting. So there's no sales pitch, no opinion. It's truth. That's why I founded In The Image Clothing Company, not to sell clothing, to change lives. Wow, aren't I cool? Seriously though, I didn't, yeah, yes, and starting with my own, you know. You can't deny it, you know. That's why we do so much under what I call the gift of video. That's a lot of reason why it's a gift, is because you can see the visual and physical transformation in my body as I've documented what's going on here. And me going through the process myself as the founder, you know, going before and then preaching what I have practiced. And this is how our team members will be as well. You can watch our team members under In The Image Clothing Company as our team builds, and maybe if it fluctuates, you know, if and where it does, you can watch them under what we do so much of with the gift of video, and the reasons why we film so much here on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. And, you know, you can watch our bodies transform. You can watch our poodles under In The Image Clothing Company poodles when we breed purebred standard poodles to advocate for the health of the dogs, okay? Purebreds, yeah. You just about never have a mixed dog in nature. It just about never happens. It's very common to have happen in our modern man-made societies. A lot of health complications come with it in almost every case, and a lot of just things you can't expect in the temperament of the dogs, you know, when you're mixing breeds. So yeah, you can watch our poodles, and you know, we'll be very intentional with our dogs' clothing as far as collars and harnesses, leashes, things like this. So yeah, I mean, we'll always have good clothing, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials under In The Image Clothing Company. Do Everything Clothing. We'll breed our poodles to be Do Everything dogs. Do Everything dog products we'll also sell, you know, with the same intent. Minimal, light, simplistic, brandless on the exterior of our products, you know, clothing wise, because it's not about our company's name, it's about our bodies being allowed to work. And you'll see that through what our clothing will be able to do for people, you know. Just be as unrestrictive as we can have it be is really the goal. You know, the goal is natural. Naturally, we don't restrict our bodies with anything until we make things as mankind and clothe our bodies with them. Anyway, yeah, this nuchal ligament. If you've just got an imbalanced collar, you know, just pulling on your neck, and it will happen if there's a seam in a collar and only one spot, and it's different than the rest of the whole collar. You know, this shirt that I'm wearing right now, it doesn't have any kind of seam in the collar for visual context. And what I mean, it's just the same all the way around, which is great. You know, In The Image Clothing Company clothing, that's what we'll be doing, is not having seams in collars, not having rotated seams in clothing. You've got rotated seams that's just so common in modern 2026. Yeah, it's 2026, the 24th of March. Today, In The Image Clothing Company's main site is where we're at now. Clothing's effect on the nuchal ligament, but that's what I mean. Yeah. You've got these rotated clothing seams, you know, and then these designs shipped across the entire earth. Our bodies are getting rotated by our clothing. Gravity's just pulling on our clothing and it's rotating, twisting our bodies. The nuchal ligament, it's in the center of the body, it's the spine, it's supporting the whole body, it's got to be in the center, and so our clothing can't be pulling us out of our center line. Or it's just hard to stand up on Earth's gravity. It's hard to sit. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to breathe. It's just hard to live because of clothing. No sales pitch. But I've been doing this for about 18 months as of today's date, give or take, you know. And I'll be doing this for the rest of my entire life. It's always the same. You either don't alter the body and it has all the opportunities it could to just work, or we alter the body by physically placing something on it that doesn't work for it and it gets damaged. That's it. Here comes a tractor. But those are the only two options, all right? Let me wait this out, the noise, all right, just for a little bit at least. We'll go from there. Because this comes in a lot of different ways, all right? This comes in a lot of different ways. Things like this. We've got videos under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled things like the importance of even nostrils, the importance of even ears, the importance of the corners of the mouth, the importance of even eyebrows, the importance of being gentle with the mouth, The importance of bringing food to the mouth. Oh, shoot. The importance of not pushing or pulling on the ears. The neutral earlobe position. I think it's the natural earlobe position, but you know, all these things. And then all the videos we have about the jaw under In The Image Clothing Company's main site as of today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. The importance of even jaw musculature. The importance of a strong jaw. Eating and drinking with the left hand, meaning just non-dominant, right? Just both sides of our bodies in this right-handed world. There's a center line to our bodies, there's a center line to gravity. As we chew and eat food, the teeth wear down, which is just natural. It's just grinding food together. Friction wears the teeth down over time. You're not going to avoid it if you're going to chew food. And what happens though is, if we're not chewing centered, then our teeth wear imbalanced and our jaw musculature gets imbalanced, you know, and our bodies are imbalanced. But the point is, in this case, for the nuchal ligament, is our head gets imbalanced. And now that nuchal ligament that's supporting the head, connecting the bone of the skull from that occiput down all those little bones of the spine, the cervical spine, the spine of the neck, those little vertebrae is what those bones are called. If we have an imbalanced head because we've been eating on one side of our bodies only, all the skin on our face is off to one side, and our teeth, like I'm saying, are wearing off to one side. Our jaw's musculature is just different on one side versus the other, and its level of contraction versus elongation, you know, and things like, yeah, oversized clothing, it'll just fall to our dominant side just with gravity, you know. And so tops are like a cage for the shoulders, is what we discussed. Tops just need to lock our shoulders in place in a sense, okay, right at the edges of our shoulders. As we've said in this video, that's where it happens. You know, the bones of the body of the shoulder joint meet there at the edge, where the joints of the material of the clothing need to meet. Why was that so hard for me to say? What I mean is, it's okay, Dante. We need edge seams of our tops, but they also need to be at the edges of our shoulders, because the reason we need them is so that there can be a joint there of the material that hinges at the joint of the shoulder at the same location, rather than just having like one piece of material over the whole shoulder edge. Do you see what I mean? A seam is necessary at the edge of the shoulder to allow the body to stay in its position that it works in. I don't know, this video might cut because of storage space getting full or something. I feel like maybe something is going to happen. This tractor might come and just kill Dante and I. What if we just both died right now, Dante? Who knows is what I'm saying. But what I am saying is some permanent information, so I'll keep speaking as long as I do in this video, because the top seams of our shoulders, they need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. The peak of the shoulder is the other end of the collarbone or the clavicle from the center line of the body at the top of the sternum in the front. And that collarbone or clavicle connects directly to bone on either end. And so the position of the shoulder is determined by where that collarbone is pivoting, you know, as well as where the scapulas or shoulder blades are going, and, you know, just how that's happening in the body. But the collarbone is just bone to bone on either end. So our shoulders will follow our shoulder seams just with gravity. Pulling on our clothing is the big point, but also it's just physically placed on us, encapsulating our shoulders, our tops are. So there you go. Right evenly behind the peak of the shoulders is where those top seams need to be sitting of our tops of whatever it is. And there's a fly. Anyway, blowing your nose, you know, I mean, if you're in a right-handed patterning and you're always blowing your nose or clearing your nostrils, however you're doing it, off to one side versus in the center, well, the same skin on your whole head is the same skin on your whole head. You know, I've referenced this quite a few times before. There's a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here titled "Oversized Clothing Makes Life Hard." The word hard is in all capital letters. Yeah. Wow, this video is awesome. But yeah, a lot of it's just the skin of the body. We'll pull on the skin of our head, on the top of our head here, by our shoulders being pulled down in an oversized top, you know. It'll pull down on the jaw. The jaw is the shoulder, as we were saying, and as you can see, going directly through the collar of the top with the musculature and tendons, you know, from the lower jawbone, the mandible here, out to the edge of the shoulders. It needs to be even, you know. Clothing just has to fit. There's no opinion to it. You don't have to care to even want to try to care about clothing. You don't have to care about fashion at all. At all. No. But you place something onto your body, you just can't alter your body, otherwise you alter your body. It's the only thing you get in this life that's actually promised. We just have to take care of the bodies. That's what we do here under In the Image Clothing Company. In all aspects of how we address the human being, we allow the body to work. Allowing the body to work. In the Image Clothing Company's main side slogan since the 23rd of September 2024, when we founded this thing. Okay. So yeah, the Nuchal ligament, yeah, it's going to come through whatever it's going to come through. Any alteration to it, you know, any damage to it, anything that's going to not allow the body to be centered, you know, having the body off to one side, this ligament will just like migrate, if you will. It'll move to a degree, like to the degree that it does, a little bit off to the center of where it should be connecting to the center of that occiput in the rear of the skull, and just the very rear of those vertebrae. Those bones of the spine, they're shaped very specifically, you know, because they mesh with each other. It's like the bones of the fingers, the bones of the hand and the wrist, and just all the bones where they connect to each other in the body. They're only how they are. Yeah. So. The airplane noise. All right, hold on if you would. Yeah. If not, then get out of here. But this information applies to you, so you probably want to stick around, you know? Probably. Probably. It's permanent, truthful information. It's not my choice, so don't believe me, but listen to this. Our clothing, you know? That's what we talk about a lot here under In the Image Clothing Company. It's in our company name. 5 words, no spaces between them. Okay. Let's talk about this a little bit deeper though. Tags. In clothing, we've got 2 prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company just to not alter the body. Firstly, no specific order, but just, yeah, removing all tags. We have to remove all the tags from our clothing. Tags, like I was saying earlier, they didn't even exist until just tens of years ago from today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. And so tags are like having a leaf from a tree, like literally, just placed between your clothing and your body. It's causing a physical gap, changing the body's skeletal system's only position that it can work in, the neutral, okay? Yeah, shoot. And or it's just not allowing musculature to fully activate. It deactivates muscles completely, maybe, if, you know, yeah, the body tries to compensate. If muscles can't activate to work, other muscles are trying to make up for that function, like we were saying earlier, and it just can't happen. You can't drag around dead weight in your body. It's all there. It's all connected always if it's part of your body, you know? Yeah. Oh, shoot, yeah. It's as real as it gets. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. You know, these phrases that I say under In the Image Clothing Company, those are a couple of them because, yeah, it's not my choice. If it's truth, you know. So, here's the thing. What was I talking about? Tags and clothing. Remove them. Removing all tags from clothing is one of our 2 prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company. And then secondly, shoelacing. You know, we're just weaving ropes across the top of our feet. We call them shoelaces. They're just ropes. You know, and there's only one way the top of the feet are shaped. There's a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here titled, "There is only one way the feet are shaped." We've got a lot of videos talking about the feet under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. Like I said, we have a lot of videos talking about the jaw of the human being under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. Certain things like this in the body that are just huge. You know, the hands as well. These things can affect the rest of the entire body because of their level of motion and dexterity and stabilization they do throughout the rest of the entire body. Okay? So, yeah. Just know there's so much more context than is in this video under In the Image Clothing Company where you can find it. Man, that's that same plane, the same type of plane at least, that I saw a few minutes ago. It's just what it is though. But In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, it's just the only way the top of the feet are shaped. There's no opinion to it. We don't own it. We can't take credit for it. We don't get anything from you using it. You're just weaving a rope, though, across your feet. Bones, tendons, ligaments, and muscles, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line and keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity. They only do what they do. Different length toes, you know. We roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes to evenly share the weight. Mr. Airplane Pilot, man, dude, guy, bro, sis, whoever it is. There's a human being up there, probably. Who knows nowadays, robots. Woo! 2026. That's awesome. It's the 24th of March. Here's the thing. Easter's coming up soon, okay? That's a Christian holiday, by the way. Jesus Christ rose on the third day. That's why we celebrate Easter across the entire planet. Just for some context, all right? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Hey, here's the thing. I don't want to actually like make anyone nervous around. Dante's used to me yelling. It's okay. He lifted his head up, but you know, the airplanes, man, there's just a lot in this area because of the flight school. There really is. Well, this is what I'll say now, right now. Dante and I, the point is that I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. We are moving down to St. George, Utah. My name is Evan Strong, okay? The very southernmost part of Utah. It'll be about a month or less, give or take, from today's date, the 24th of March, 2026. We'll set up, as I say, base camp for life of In the Image Clothing Company, just meaning that's where we'll be based for life. We'll have events. You can bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size, here to the state of Utah, the United States of America. Gall, these airplanes. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, the Nuchal ligament, just look at this. That's what it's doing, is pivoting the skull down, essentially, or pulling the skull up. I mean, really, it's the musculature that's doing that, but we're tracking on where this Nuchal ligament connects, right in the center of the rear of the head. And the spine of the neck, right in the center and the rear. Okay, so there you go. There's just more airplane noise is the point of me, like, kind of waiting still. Hey, watch out, cone. St. George, Utah, okay. But yeah, we'll get people into nature and dogs into nature through what we title Poodle Parade events. It's for purebred poodles or mixed poodles of any size. Like I said, you can bring them. We'll have a lot of specifics, you know, when we announce each individual event, what you can or can't bring, but always come for the events and the reason we're doing them, not for In the Image Clothing Company's team. You know, it's not just for you to come meet us. That's not what we're doing unless we very specifically specified that that was the reason for an individual event, but that's not our focus by any means at all, okay? But things like this are the focus, is what I'm saying. Clean the creek or rid the rubbish, specific subcategory poodle parade events. I love the alliterations, you know. Poodle parades, clean the creek, rid the rubbish, In the Image Clothing Company. I'm a lyricist, and I'll talk about it as long as I get a chance to in this video. You know, music, under In the Image Clothing Company, music. Another one of our fourths, but I don't want to, yeah. All right, anyway, yeah, we'll get people into nature and dogs into nature. The thing is, you know, cleaning up trash for the environment of our planet Earth. We do a lot under In the Image Clothing Company. Living up Utah, the state of Utah, the United States of America here, you know, beautiful, diverse nature, doing so much outside in nature. That's one of the biggest reasons for us being based in St. George, Utah, is it's a true desert. It stays warm relatively all year round. Yeah, it just doesn't get all that cold compared to most of the rest of Utah in the winter, and then it's hot in the summer in St. George, Utah. It's awesome. There's sandstone, this beautiful red rock desert. It's a great place. And so yeah, all right. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the headquarters is here in the state of Utah. We do a lot with Utah as our location. This is definitely our focus, is our actual physical location where we are based, our state of Utah. I'm Utah native as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. So, you know, we'll have our building down there in St. George, Utah. We'll ship our products out from there. We'll have our poodles housed and bred there. Our team will be there, and we'll just do so much through the gift of video in the ways that we do there, okay? And all the places we do. as well. But yeah, in the Image Clothing Company music, we show the sizing and setup of guitars as one of the things to not alter the neutral wrist, like I was saying, straight out the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger. And the rounding in our hands, you know, just in every aspect of life, we need fingernails and toenails. Fully to the tips of our fingers and toes to back and support them. It's just natural God-given strength. And then we cut them relatively flat on the tips so we stay yikes, in this neutral position, you know, of the wrist and the hand or the ankle and the foot, you know, toenails and fingernails, just in every aspect of life. But rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages under In the Image Clothing Company music. There you go. You know, we've got series that we do in a lot of different ways on each of the 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company where we do that. I guess we don't do series, at least as of yet, under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But yeah, you know, just check us out, hang out, stick around. And the point is really, you know, just being very, very careful. But just, you know, massaging out where that nuchal ligament connects to the bones and just having it be able to be in the center. You know, the bones of the spine and the bones of the occiput on the base of the skull back there. Because we need to be able to just, you know, stand neutral in life, stemming from the feet up, the different length toes and just those gripped arches, evenly opposing the center line of the human being. And then the hands too, the importance of the same size hands, you know, and the different length fingers meshing around the different length thumb than the fingers, you know, our hands are only rounded, so we need to use round things. And just keep our bodies centered, keep our clothing centered. You know, check out our free modifications in clothing under In the Image Clothing Company. You wouldn't ever have to purchase our products necessarily to allow your body to work. Really, the fix would be just to not wear clothing, like I was saying. But we wear clothing and we need to. It's a commandment by God, if nothing else, just to stay modest. You know, but just protection from the elements, yeah, I mean, a lot of times you wouldn't survive without clothing, you know, certainly. It's too cold, you'd freeze without having clothing to insulate your body. You know, it's too hot and you pant like Dante is, you know. He is in the shade, you know, decently shaded. I'm not, but, you know, I'm just doing what I can for him to give him some shade right now. But anyway, the point is, yeah, just having some clothing is so beneficial. Human beings have always worn clothing, and there's times when it's almost, you know, not possible to go without clothing and have your body even be safe enough to continue to live. No joke. You know, no exaggeration is what I mean by no joke. I mean, it's, yeah. So, yeah, just keeping your body centered. And we just discuss how the body works, you know, and we give the information and context and understanding under In the Image Clothing Company on how to get out of chronic patterning. When I mentioned earlier, reshaping bones, you know, again, only back to their only working, tracking inline positions. Yeah, we can do this within our own individualistic situations. Yeah, and we'll be doing a lot, you know, a lot more than what it may seem like we do as of any given time or any given understanding you have, you know, depending on whatever degree of understanding you have of who we are and what we're doing as In the Image Clothing Company. What I'm saying is we do a lot. You hear our company name and it's a clothing company, In the Image Clothing Company, that 5-word name. I've heard that, maybe you say, but I'm not really into fashion, you might be saying. That's fine. It's about the body's functioning. And so we discuss everything we do, as I was saying earlier, and there's a lot to this, and a lot is with the dogs that you might not really be able to understand until you see it happening. So just stick around, is what I'm saying, okay? If you want, if you want. But there you go. All right, the 24th of March, 2026. We discussed where pants sit, where tops sit, you know, shoes and shoelaces. Yeah, we get in depth with it, you know, like the importance of even short sleeves, keeping short sleeves short, you know, sleeve cuffs, the long sleeves off the wrist function, long pants off the ankle function, shorts off the knees, you know, but then we really get in depth because anytime you've got a zipper, it's interlocking one side over the other, okay? One side's on top, and so we need to do what we can to modify these things. In the Image Clothing Company's pant zipper modification, for example, but any zipper that would apply to. Just like In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, it's just anytime there's anything that's different in the circular nature of the collar of our top, yeah, I'm gonna leave. this video now because this is awesome. All right, Dante, do you want to say bye? That's him saying bye. I don't think you even got to see him in this video as far as I know. That's fine, he's here. You probably heard him moving around. Anyway, let's have him get up. Dante, up. We're gonna walk away anyway right now, so good, Dante. Up, up. Yay, he's here. He's actually here. Hey, buddy. You're good, doggy. You are good. Yay, good. Okay. That panting mixed with like the excited breathing is awesome. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.